Hey, my name is Thomas, and as you might know, I'm running a channel about photography and camera gear with a strong bias towards analog photography. So I love to shoot and review analog cameras on this channel. But today I want to do a completely different video in face of the current events around the Russian attack on Ukraine. So this is going to be a very different take. I'm not a political or a history channel, but I already see so many reactions on social media to the conflict. I see that, for example, Sony withdrawing from the Russian market. I see that the owners of Photo Rumors, Leica Rumors, Nikon Rumors, and some other very important rumors websites blocked their content for Russian visitors. So even within the scope of my channel, I think it's very important to react. And that's what I want to try with this video. My audience, I know that you come from all over the world. The East, the West, Europe, America, China, wherever, you name it. So I also have a lot of visitors from Russia. It's about 1% according to the YouTube statistics, and also visitors from Ukraine. And I want to say one thing. I welcome each and every visitor on my channel. I sincerely believe that photography is a universal language and it doesn't have any borders. It's a great passion, it's art, it's a way to document life, feelings, events, be they beautiful or horrible. And I have no clue if YouTube is even available currently in Russia due to the measurements of the Russian government, but I know there are so many good people in Russia, like in every other country, of course. There is even protest against the war in Russia. So Russia is not Putin alone. So I think that a general IP block for photography and news websites against Russians is wrong. It shouldn't be. It's not the right measure. It's quite the opposite. I think it's already hard for the people in Russia to get information, independent information, to keep contact with people from other countries. So I think every news blog, magazine, and even specialist channels like about photography, we all should keep on being available for everyone in this world. And we shouldn't impose any additional unnecessary borders. I got this Kiev 4 camera. It was made in the 1960s by Arsenal Zavod in Ukraine, the Arsenal factory in Kiev. It comes with a 50mm lens, a Jupiter 8, and that was also made by Arsenal Zavod. I used this camera last week when there was a demonstration for peace and support of Ukraine in my hometown in Cologne, in Germany. And those are the photos I showed to you at the beginning of this video. So the camera is 60 years old. It never has been repaired because I never had any intention to really use it. It's just a piece of my collection. So you see it has some faults, light leaks and something. You can see it on the photos very clearly. To me, this is a relic of old times, and the faults of the camera also gave the photos this look, because I mean, the war situation is also, it feels like a relic from old times. It feels like something that shouldn't be there right now anymore. So I'm going to make a video about the Kiev 4 camera and the history of the Soviet Union's cameras, especially the Ukrainian manufacturers. But the camera is, I mean, the Kiev 4 itself, it's linked to the Second World War. It's a German design. It's a Zeiss Icon Contax camera, really. So when I started to make that video, I realized there needs to be a foreword, a prologue about the current situation. And that prologue became so long that I decided to make an extra video, and that's the one that you're watching now. We should have been able to move on from all these horrible events like war, and we failed, and that's just so depressing. It's horrible beyond words that Putin started this attack and sends the Russian troops to Ukraine. After all, Russia and Ukraine, they're heavily tied together. They should be friends. And now I'm going to quote Henry Kissinger, Secretary of State in the US in 1973 to 77. He was working on bringing Americans and Russians sort of back together to the same table during the Cold War. And already back in 2014, when there was a conflict in the east of Ukraine, this is what Kissinger said, quote, "Russia must accept that to try to force Ukraine into a satellite status and thereby move Russia's borders again would doom Moscow to repeat its history of self-fulfilling cycles of pressures with Europe and the United States. And the West must understand that to Russia, Ukraine can never be just a foreign country. Russia history began in what was called Kievan Rus. The Russian religion spread from there. The Ukraine has been part of Russia for centuries, and the histories were intertwined before then. Some of the most important battles for Russian freedom, starting with the Battle of Poltava in 1709, were fought on Ukrainian soil." End of quote. Now, of course, Henry Kissinger, he's not the only expert on this. There might be many different political views, but I think his view is a balance between typical Eastern and Western thoughts. We really need to try to understand Ukraine, where they come from, their history, and also the ties to Russia. Personally, I do support Ukraine. Why shouldn't these people have their own country? But it is a divided country, and it explains why there is a potential for conflict, and everyone should make sure to understand the reasons behind those conflicts. And I'm also very sure that also the Ukrainian government didn't always do the best job. Of course not. But anyway, back in 1991, the Ukrainian people voted very, very clearly that they wanted to live in an independent country, the Independent Republic of Ukraine. And the name Ukraine, it means literally borderland. And yes, it was always torn between the West and the East. Back in the 19th century, the western part of today's Ukraine were part of Habsburg Empire. The east of Ukraine, basically Kiev and all the regions to the east of Kiev, they belonged to the Russian Tsar Empire. And then came the First World War, the Communist October Revolution. For a brief time, around 1918, Ukraine was independent for the first time, but again, there were even two separate Ukrainian republics. And then the unified communist Ukrainian Socialist Soviet Republic came into existence, and it was a founding member of USSR in 1922. And my grandpa, he was Ukrainian, and grandma, she was from Germany. They met and lived in Tlumach. That's a small town with a population today of around 8,000 people in the south of Lviv. It was called Lemberg back then. Tlumach and Lviv are located in the region of Galicia, and Lviv was the capital of that region. And Galicia itself, it belonged to the Austro-Hungarian Empire between 1772 and 1918 for a very long time. So when Grandpa was born, it was Austro-Hungarian. He died back in 1941, aged 28. So no, he wasn't a soldier or something. It was just a very severe illness. And my grandpa's and my family's fate are very tightly tied together with the events of the Second World War. And again, he was born in the Austro-Hungarian Empire. Then after World War I, it was Tlumach was part of the independent Western Ukrainian Republic just for a few weeks in 1918. Then it became part of Poland and remained so until World War II. Then came the Hitler-Stalin Pact, or Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact. It became part of USSR. And then 1941, the Germans declared war against USSR. So it became part of Germany. So when my grandpa died, it had changed a lot. And all this within only 28 years. About the photographic community, I know it doesn't seem that important maybe today in the face of the dreadful war, but I'd still like to mention it. As I said already, Sony stopping sales in Russia, photo news sites blocking Russian users. This war doesn't only cause devastating results in Ukraine, it also causes a lot of international measures against the Russians. And so it has an impact on the photographic community as well. And I said it before, photography should be without borders. We are sharing our experience and we are enjoying and watching photography all over the world on exhibits, on social media, YouTube, wherever. There shouldn't be borders when we share this passion, no matter how bad times are. I have very strong feelings about this, and I really have to ask, why did photo rumors block Russian IP addresses? What's the point of that? How is that supposed to improve anything? And another thing I would like to bring up, it's about the analog photography. In Kiev, in Ukraine, there's also a lot of small, almost artisan-style camera businesses. They sell you brand new, refurbished, factory new, old stock, improved Kiev cameras. For example, the Arax 60 medium format or many others. And they were doing so until February 24th. And what's the future of that camera industry? It's severely affected by, because the country is so brutally attacked by now. A viewer of my channel told me he just bought a camera from an Ukrainian seller a few weeks ago, and now he's sort of worrying if that person is still doing well or even alive. It's really very, very dark. So I know in the face of war events, people fighting for their lives, it's a small problem that we have an adverse effect on the analog camera business, but still, it's another small piece that shows how war can affect so many aspects of life in a bad way and how it can bring new horrible borders to things. So that's my thoughts on this subject. As you can see, it's quite a long video. We haven't talked about the Key 4 camera at all yet. As I said, there will be a separate review video, more in my standard style, not focusing so much on the current events. I hope to do this in this video. And so, of course, I will continue my photography channel as everyone else is continuing with their everyday lives. Bring some light in the face of these dark times. But our thoughts are with Ukraine. In case you want to give support, maybe consider a donation. In Germany, for example, Caritas, they're a very trustworthy big organization and they do humanitarian aid in the Ukraine as well. I put the links down in the description. And also don't forget, of course, there is a lot of other conflicts in the world, not just Ukraine. It feels so close to us Europeans. It doesn't mean that people aren't suffering in other regions of this planet as well. I think the people on this planet, and especially the young generation, deserve a better future. And often I see that it's the young people who are not just struggling, but they also are really fighting for a better future. Often this goes unnoticed by us. So please, let's be attentive to anyone with a good intent, no matter where in this world they come from. Let's give everyone a chance. It's really beyond my understanding why people need to fight all the time instead of listening, understanding, and joining forces for a better future. I think that's all we should be striving for, really. So that's it for today. I wish you all the best. Many thanks for watching, and bye.